Hey everyone, welcome to VCQ. Oh, everything is new. Welcome to Schwangri-Bar. Please let me know that you can hear and see me okay. Apologies from Dan. He is, we were getting ready for the big unveil today and he called up to say he was unwell. So unfortunately, we'll wish Dan well. Hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. And I'll tell you the story in a minute, but welcome to VCQ. We've got two cameras. Now, we're testing this on you tonight. Right, you be quiet. We're testing this on you tonight. Normally, Dan would be sat there, right? But he's not here, so it's just me. And then we've got this camera here as well. And I want you to know if you want me to look at you like that, or if you'd rather I just kept looking like that. We don't know. What do you think, Catherine?
I like them both.
You like them both, okay. Anyway, I'm going to put this lovely guitar down. We can talk about that in a minute. And then, yeah, let's see who's on. Plexico is on, Duncan. In fact, first of all, let me see if you can hear and see. Looks awesome, mate, says Steve. Hello, mate. Yeah, the people can see it. The Real Tone Lounge. Libations and comfy chairs, says Happy Hockey. Sounds and looks great, says Shabu. Great. Loud and clear mix, says Andy Cooper. That's good to hear. It was a bit of a panic today. Again, we can talk about it in a minute. BV, thank you for everything, for keeping an eye on everything. Plexico is on. Martin Tracy is on. Johnny T, 5E3 is on. Marvin Boxer's on. Actually, Bebbers, can you let me know if that camera starts hunting for focus? And if it does, we'll put it on manual focus. Electricity, Steve is on. How are you, mate? Broken Oars Podcast, Executioner's Bong. Todd Roy, how are you, buddy? Miguel Casagrande. Matt Gim, 1994, from Poland. Andrew Jones. Michael Giliberto, how are you, Michael? Always good to hear from you, buddy. And who else have we got? Morley Robertson. Jason Sears, LA Cornish, Chink82, Paul Matulovich, lots and lots of lovely friends. Thanks for joining me. I'll say us, Dan's here in spirit. Should have put his little stuffed thing on the chair, shouldn't I? But there we are. Morning from a rainy Texas, says CBink182. Yeah, it's been boiling hot here today, as you may be able to tell from my patina. So we're working it out, right? It might sound a bit weird. Be really grateful for all your feedback. We haven't acoustically treated the place yet, so there's going to be some weird acoustic sound. There's also going to be more ambient noise from outside because we're in a different room, but we just like it. We like the bar. We like the bar. And hopefully this space will enable us to do a whole bunch of new things, not least that all the audio gear, for those of you who've been to that pedal show before, is now here in front of me over there. And on another episode, I'll have a walk around camera and show you around. But so this is mission control now, and we'll be doing for VCQ for the foreseeable from here. So yeah, Richard Pribenow is on. Scott Curry is on. Chris Parshow, Music Therapy Laz and Brent Grow, Robert Iboy and Burkoy, and Tebby Bear and David Tompkins and loads of lovely friends. So thanks again for joining us. Okay, yeah, so Dan's not very well. He's got a rash on his pee-pee. I'm making that up. Well, he might have. I don't know. He was a bit cagey about what's wrong with him. So anyway. No, bless him. He was having dizzy spells today. So he's gone to the doctor to get it checked out. So we wish him well in his recovery. No doubt he'll be watching this, probably sat in A&E waiting. So hello, Dan. Hope your PP is okay. It's not the same when there's not someone there to laugh at all the PP gags. All right, let's get into the super chats then, see how we're getting on. By the way, for those of you who don't know, this is my Cutler custom guitar. I don't know, what can you see there, Bebbers?
Chopping the bottom off.
Because of the angle or... Yeah. It's a really cool guitar. We got some stuff to work out pickups wise. This one's a bit microphonic, but coming on very nicely. But shock horror, I did a gig on Saturday, and for the first 3 songs I played this. Look at that. Silver Sky. In Midnight Rose is the colour. Lovely, isn't it? Maple neck. Talk about that if you want as well. Just having a bit of fun. Hey man, that second camera looks great.
There you go.
No. I just I've seen it on my screen. It looks really good. Okay, let's do some super chats then. I tell you what, I'm going to turn the super chats off now because it's just me. I'll try and answer them as fully as I can, and it may be that we don't do the full 2 hours tonight, given that Dan's not here. With apologies, but you know, we'll see. We'll see. Also, want to say thanks to my cousin-in-law, Galen, who 3D printed that pedal show sign. How cool is that? We are going to get a decent neon sign to sit in the middle there, but as always, it's ready, fire, aim at that pedal show. Okay, super chats then. First in this week will be... It will be... Is there any housekeeping tonight, Bebbers?
I haven't had a chance to do any, except you need to tell Duncan he's a very naughty boy again.
Catherine says that Duncan, you've been a very naughty boy again with your generosity to that pedal show. Thank you, buddy. And he says, Mick, Fab Show on Friday. What is your guitar, one pedal favourite? Is that one guitar, one pedal? Guitar, one pedal favourite? One guitar, one pedal? And that's from Plexico, Duncan Plexico. One guitar, one pedal. It got to be my Strat, my 61 Strat for sure. It's hard, one pedal, isn't it? That's really hard. I mean, after Philip Ace, I went on Reverb and bought a 1982 Tube Screamer. Played it at my gig on Saturday, and it sounds magic. And I don't know if it just sounds magic because we were on a big stage and it was really loud and it was brilliant, but it sounds magic. So I'm going to say my 1982 Tube Screamer and my 1961 Strat. How spoiled does that sound? Johnny T. He says, any plans for TPS branded drinks at Schwangri-Bar? Well, obviously, Johnny, what we're hoping is, now that we've revealed the bar, all the various drinks companies around the country will come flooding to us with offers. You never know. You never know. We wouldn't be able to sell it. Obviously, you need to be licensed for that. But we might be able to get some interesting labels up there. It's a shame. We were going to christen it tonight as well, but I can't christen it without Dan here. That would just be completely wrong. So we'll save that moment for perhaps next week. Marvin Box. Hey, Marvin, how are you? He says, hello, Legends. It's a new amp day for me. Last Monday, I've been blessed with a wonderful Charlie from Honeybee Amps. I finally got my dream amp and I can't be happier. Honeybee Amps. Well, that's new to me. So sounds like we should check them out. Congratulations. What's it based on then? If it's called Charlie, is it something to do with Stevie Ray because of Charlie's guitars, maybe? Just guessing, just guessing. I don't know. Yeah, if anyone's got any comments on Honeybee amps, stick them in the chat because that's not about a brand that I'm aware of. Yeah, people flocking to A&E in Swindon to go and meet Dan. It seems. Yeah. Wishing a speedy recovery to Dan, says Eric A. Turl. Morley Robertson says, I get vertigo, so I can relate. Yeah, Catherine gets it too, or had it once, and the remedy was to stick your head between your knees and shake your head, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I passed that solid medical knowledge on to Dan. I don't know if he took it on or not, you know.
A couple of people confused about, is this the new studio?
Ah, right. Okay. If you're joining us late and you're confused, this is the bar. At that pedal show where the normal studio is 2 rooms that way. This used to be an office where we used to work, but for other reasons we don't do that anymore, and we weren't really using the space, so we thought, why don't we make it into a secondary space? And it gives us a couple of opportunities. One is, it's a nice place to sit and talk with artists when they come in, and then we can go and play in the main room to keep the two things a bit more separate. Secondly, all the production gear is going to be in here now, so we can essentially play in here and have it coming back through monitors, which is a whole new world of other stuff to explore for us. Also means that as we get a bit more ambitious with shows, somebody can be in here producing. So one of the issues of being in the main live room is you're in the main live room, so you can't hear anything. You can't hear what's being recorded. So it gives us a bit of separation. And secondly, it's a nice place to be. So yeah, it's not a replacement of the studio that you know. It's in addition to. So the Friday show, this Friday's show will be in the main studio. And actually on that subject, this Friday's show is with Jack Roosh, which is a really good show. Loads and loads of guitar playing tips, tone advice and all that kind of stuff. So we're really, really pleased to have Jack on the show. Yeah, let's see. Looks fancy, says DeWitt164. I know. It's really Paul, says Mick. What's on the bottom right of the shelf?
Who's right?
Yeah, down there? A TC 2290, for example, maybe? If I move it back a bit, you'll be able to see. There you go. Bit more light on the subject. Belongs to Steve Rothery. He bought two and he said, did you want to buy one? And we kind of do, but being a bit careful with finances at the moment. So he said, it's all right, I'll lend you it. So yeah, that's what that is. Woo and indeed who. Yeah, MW Adams says they're Hungarian. Oh, is that amp you were talking about? Maybe. Good, I'd be nice to hear about that. But do the chairs squeak, says Lemon Tree 1423. They're not too bad, actually, because as you know, that's the kind of thing that drives me nuts. And for all those people that, the one thing that they notice about that pedal show more than any other is the comfort of our chairs, and are continually telling us to get more comfortable chairs. Time will tell. Time will tell. One great thing about no back support is you have to, you know, engage core, which, as we all know, with our increasing years is quite important. Maybe as Dan's finding out today. And Guitar Live says, that room looks lovely. Loving the old phone. And David Tompkins says, if you two don't have enough drinks bottles behind you, you've only got yourselves to blame. Yeah, right. We're hoping that it will fill. And yeah. It's a maiden voyage. And Duncana 6351 says, love the Stonehenge. Yes. So we went on a visit to Stonehenge, and it's an actual scale model. Of course, we need a light here.
Yes.
Yeah, we live and learn. There you go, add that to the list of things we need to do. To be fair, I think all of this booze has been gifts from either Experience Day visitors and or Yanis from Jam Pedals. Especially the sort of clear looking stuff that will hurt you. Are you going to put any pedals like a tube screamer on the bar and we can see it, says Eric Atturl. Yes. In fact, what I will do in a minute is go and get my pedal board that I used at the weekend, and I can show you that because it's on there. It is in the edit room.
Yeah.
There's two Schmidt-Array pedal bags. It's the bigger one of the two.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice tin of tea on the way, Mick, says G Barge. Bless you, G. And we're looking forward to seeing you this Friday, I believe, for Experience Day. Yeah. Good. Everything. Have you got a cigar room? Says Mick. Have you got a cigar room, Mick? Says Johnny T. No, I've never got into cigars actually. I think Bonamassa likes cigars, doesn't he? Anyway, Broken Oars podcast. AJ, how are you? He says, evening all. Homework is baking. I solved the T-shaped object problem. I got a PRS, Paul's model. Oh wow. Oh my God, how good. Love the new look. Take one from the chat, AJ and the girls. Yeah, I'll get that, Bebs.
Yeah.
So if you, actually, I do wish I had another camera. I could just swing around and show you everything because it is chaos down that end. Because I'm literally screwing things to the ceiling like 5 minutes before we got going. Nothing like being prepared. Take one from the chat. Okay, let's take one from the chat. And congratulations on that new guitar, AJ. Right, who's asking a question then? Let's see. Nice helicopter going overhead. Todd Roy says, I used to be the lonely bloke in a bar on a Monday. Now I'm watching one on YouTube. Is that progress? Let's see. Come on, there must be a question here somewhere. Ryan Colvin says, Legends, it's the first live VCQ from Wisconsin. Well, hello to Wisconsin. Hello to you, Ryan. He says, given the recent PRS amp video and your love of Marshall cleans, have you considered using the PRS HDRX for a vid? Yes, we've got the 20 and it appears semi-regularly, I would say. We like it a lot. I haven't tried the 50 and I think I'd really like it. But yeah, having got the DGT 15 and had that in the show on Friday, I think pairing that with the HDRX 20 would be fantastic. Which one do you have, the 20 or the 50? Let us know. But yeah, be good to pair them up. Like it. Hitronical says, Weller is delicious and hard to find. Yes. Now, I think it was Jason that got us that, wasn't it, back in the day? And we haven't, obviously we haven't drunk it yet. Thankfully, neither Dan nor I are really into spirits, so it's a very special occasion when we would crack open such a thing. Toes says Executioner's Bong. Toes. I'm super impressed by Monty's Montepresso wax. It darkened my Jazzmaster Palfero board to a lustrous and pleasing colour. Tone maybe in the fingers after all. Love from Indiana. Yeah, it's good stuff. For those of you not aware, Monty's guitars do two types of their wax. They do a relatively clear looking one, which looks kind of beige in colour. And then they do one called Montepresso, which is dark brown. And you can use it on rosewood fingerboards to really make them look deep and lovely. It's not a dye as such, it's just a wax. And you're not the only person I've heard say that about making Palfero, Bolivian rosewood, I believe it's called sometimes, can look quite pale. I want to say the Stevie Ray Vaughan Strat had a Palfero fingerboard. If anyone would like to confirm or deny that. And it looks paler, so if you put Montepresso on, it gets darker. And we all like dark because we like Brazilian rosewood fingerboards, right? That's why we like it dark. Miguel Casagrande says, Mick, I just wanted to let you know that your playing in tone through the DGT and the DGT was 15 was truly beautiful and inspiring. I had to immediately rewind and watch just to hear it again. Well, thank you, Miguel. That's very kind of you. It's funny, I don't play that guitar a lot, and it just, I don't know. Well, stands to reason, doesn't it? David Grissom guitar, David Grissom amplifier. They're probably going to work pretty well together. But yeah, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Matt Gim 1994. I'm getting out of a rut after being rejected from a band. Oh mate, sorry to hear that. Following a round of auditions, I would love some suggestions of 80s tracks to play loud. Oh man. So in the UK, where are you? You are in Poland? PLN? Is that Poland? Maybe? In the UK, there used to be a pop music TV show called Top of the Pops. And I'm sure that I can't remember what the equivalent in the US was called, but you know, in the US, the Billboard charts here, it was the UK Top 40, and they used to count down to number one, and whatever was number one. Had it been going since the 60s, I guess. It finally died maybe last decade. But anyway, the 80s was this absolute halcyon period. So you could stick it on and you might have like Huey Lewis, Madonna, The Cure, The Cult, Iron Maiden, whoever happened to be in the charts. And it was just this amazing hodgepodge of amazing music. So if you can hack into the BBC archive somehow via BBC iPlayer, using a dodgy VPN or however you do it from abroad, not that we condone that kind of thing, check out some of those Top of the Popses. But to make the point that it was such a diverse time for music, Madonna to Maiden, all the Simple Minds, Big Country, you know, it felt to me like in the 80s, the tradition of Lennon and McCartney songwriting was reborn with 80s sensibilities in production. So great songs, a lot of diatonic chords, chord changes and all that stuff. And you hear that throughout the music of, well, anyone from Madonna to Big Country to whoever. So it's vast, isn't it? Now, I would say, let's pour some cheese on it and go for The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News. Interesting enough, there were 3 songs in the charts called The Power of Love that year. Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News. The Power of Love by Jennifer Rush, which stayed at number 1 for forever. And The Power of Love by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. There we are, bit of trivia for you. So yeah, how about that? And then The Trooper by Iron Maiden. That'll make you happy. Somewhat diverse. Go for it, Matt. And chin up, mate. Often not get. There's obviously often a really good reason why things don't pan out, because something else is around the corner. So chin up. Back on the horse. Back to the next audition. Michael Giliberto, how are you, mate? He says, hi, Mick, and regards to Dan. Yeah, we're sending our love to Dan, hoping he's doing all right. Sat there with a rash on his PP in Swindon A&E. A nice show on Friday. A package is on its way to TPS HQ. Aye. What have you sent us then? Keep an eye out for it. Nothing edible. Nothing will explode. Disappointing. What single malts are at the bar? Actually, that's a good question. That's a single malt scotch called Dalwhinnie, which I think you have chilled. I don't think that is, but I don't know. That's a bourbon. What is this? Bundaberg. Isn't she the climate activist?
You renamed it.
Oh yeah, Tone Benders edition. Unfortunately, I can't read it, so my eyes can't see that small. And, oh yeah, okay, so Aberfeldy Highland Single Malt Scotch Whisky. This came from Chris Buck. Chris Buck gave us that, and you can see how much of that we've drunk, not much. And this was also a gift from an experienced dayer, and I'm ashamed to say I can't remember who. Jura Single Malt Scotch. I mean, I think Dan and I need to drink some scotch, right? Thank you for whatever you sent, Michael. We look forward to getting it. And hope you're doing well, buddy. Morley Robertson. Morley, how are you, Morley? He says, Legends, it's been a minute since I've caught a live VCQ. Well, sorry, it's just me, mate. Hopefully Dan will be back next week. He says, I'm living ARC these days, getting the band back together. Playing with friends sure is good for the soul. Please take one from the chat. So is Morley. I met up with a bunch of old friends, spoken about it on VCQ before, but back when we were kids, I was, 15, 16, 17. And we had this band and we played all the time and it was really good fun because we thought we were great and it was before the internet. And you know, the guys in that band became brothers. We were brothers. We spent most of our time together in a van, hammering around, having a lovely time. And we met up and have done some gigs again. And we played a festival at the weekend called the Home Farm Festival down in Yeovil, which is a charity festival. And a lovely big stage. And we played and it was fantastic. And so I'm reiterating what you're saying. It is really good for the soul. And it is, funnily enough, I had that same thought walking around the festival thinking, this is Ark, you know? There was an incredibly low number of people walking around like this. They were looking up. They were looking at the things to see. They were listening to the bands. They were, you know, half pissed, most of them, but that's good too, isn't it? Hope you're enjoying getting the band back together. So let's see if there is one in the chat. Peter Hall says, TPS smoking jackets in the merch store, please.
Oh, yes.
Get in. Andy McDandy says, I've got a 1992 SRV signature Strat. I can confirm it's Palfero and can confirm that it looks fantastic with some of the Monty Presso. Nice. Lots of people are saying that's good. David Damon says, by the way, Mick, thanks to you, I've just ordered a Hello Ladies guitar lead. God, I hope they're all right with that, Adam Hall. Well, if it sold them a few guitar leads, happy days, isn't it? Yeah. Come on then. Bovington Bertie. How are you, buddy? Ian, I sold the Flying V and I delivered it to a very lovely gentleman at the weekend. And we had a lovely chat and it was good to meet you, bud. And Albie, if you're watching this, I hope you're having a good time with your dad. And I hope you enjoy that guitar, mate. It's a really good guitar. So bless you. He says, new guitar day, got an amazing Flying V from an extremely kind and considerate owner. Bless you, bud. Enjoy it. Todd Roy said, okay, here's the question then. Todd Roy, how are you, buddy? He says, Mick, do you wait until the very last fret dressing and crowning before getting a refret? To be honest, I think I must be fairly easy on frets. When Blue got redone, it got redone because they were just so far gone. I took it to Johnny and he's like, yeah, just do it. And I'd never really gone through the crowning and redressing thing before that. So, and to be fair, they'd been done before that by Patrick Hegel, which was a beautiful job. Both beautiful jobs. So that was what happened there. The 61 I got done because I just didn't like the frets very much. I think there was still a bit of playability left in the guitar. And maybe you could have crowned and dressed them, but actually I wanted the 6105s and all of that. So that's what we did. Yeah, I'm just trying to think if I've ever had a guitar crowned and dressed. Maybe I should. Because there's no doubt that when they come back from a refret, it's like a whole new guitar. Something weird has happened with my Strat, actually. It for ages, it was sounding really dull. And I don't know what I couldn't really put my finger on it. So much so, I was going to take it apart and test the capacitor and have a look at the pots and all that. And then it's just started sounding really jangly and bright again in a really lovely way. So if anyone's got any thoughts on that, let me know. Could just be that my hearing's come back. Yeah. That Bob guy says, holy shit, that bar is legit, fellas. Where can we send gifts for the bar? Actually, we might have to figure something out for that. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's really good. I'm hoping we're going to have some good times in here. Not necessarily getting drunk, but maybe that too. But talking to artists, a bit more relaxed vibe, all of that. And again, if you're just joining us and you didn't hear what I said earlier about the bar, this is an additional space for that pedal show here at Schwangri-Bar. See what we did there? So it hasn't replaced the old studio. Don't worry, don't panic. It's an additional space for us to be. Yeah. Airfire. Ed says maybe the jack socket oxidized a little bit. Yeah. You know, it could be anything like that, couldn't it? João Fonseca says, wow, new live location. How sophisticated. I know. We had to get middle-aged at some point, didn't we? Bill Green says, Philip Sayce and Big Daddy scared the 61 straight and inspired it to speak clearly. Yeah, it could be that. Francis Corubin, and I hope I've said that right, Francis, says, as a John Frusciante superfan, what do you make of his chain order, like wah after distortion pedals, for example? Love your channel. I don't know what Frusciante's actual order is. I do know that he uses a Quartermaster, not necessarily for the reason that most people use it, but as a sort of Quartermaster, sorry, QMX Quartermaster is a product that Dan makes. It's a true bypass loop switcher, and they come in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, I think. Maybe 12, I don't know. 2, 4, 6, 8, anyway. And you put each individual pedal in a true bypass loop. You see Philip Sayce doing that in the video 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So that, for two reasons. One is, if the bypass sound of the pedal is bad, i.e. it's not, it doesn't have a nice true bypass, then you want it out of the chain completely. Secondly, if you get a failure, if a pedal goes down, you can identify it immediately because you can just turn that loop off and your stuff will come back to life. I think that's why Frusciante uses a QMX as a sort of fail-safe for things going awry. Aside from that, I don't know anything about his signal chain. There are people who do use wah after some overdrive, and what it does, we've done shows on it in the past, it just makes the wah dramatically more pronounced. So this is a topic we've explored a little bit in the past on signal order in general. Whatever the last pedal is the thing that's going to have the biggest effect on the tone. So especially with things like filters and stuff. If you stick a filter before, and a filter being a wah-wah pedal, an auto wah, Qtron, that kind of thing, you know, anything that goes wah, wah, anything that sweeps a whole bunch of frequencies. If you put that, you know, if you go guitar, filter, then a distortion pedal, the distortion pedal's going to iron out some of the extremities by dint of the fact it has its own EQ, it's clipping, it's doing all the things that a distortion pedal will do. So it'll be less pronounced into the distortion pedal. You put it after the distortion pedal, everything the distortion pedal is allowed to have its full frequency sweep through that filter or the wah-wah. So he obviously, well, not obviously, perhaps Frusciante does that because he wants that very extreme effect of the wah-wah. So that's why you would do it. He obviously likes it that way. Yeah. Jason Sears. How are you, Jason? Nice to hear from you, bud. He says, Fryette is dropping a mini valvulator. Just wondering what your thoughts on tube buffers versus transistor buffers. Oh, God. What is that? I don't know is the answer. Professional grade direct recording amplifier designed for authentic tone. Oh, I see, like a little thing, 1 watt. Right, direct recording. Okay, so it's essentially a valve analog solution for direct sounds. For all of you who aren't into the digital route. Yeah, it would be great to try one, given that everything else for it makes is blimming great. So, yeah, valve buffers versus... I don't know about that. I mean, buffers in general, so can't remember why. Somebody came in, they wanted to try some reverb and delay pedals, and we put some on the board. And without naming names, there was some that had like just crazy buffer, like, and everything bright. So you'd have the reverb and delay off, have your overdrive sound on, turn the delay on and all of a sudden you get this gah, which is all about impedance relationship through your signal chain. Some pedals seem to do that, some mitigate it really well. In fact, one of the reasons I love the Chase Bliss CXM 1978 so much is because when you turn it on, you don't know that you've turned it on except for the sound of the reverb. Whereas other reverbs I've tried, you just get this, it's bright, really bright all of a sudden. So yes, buffers can be different, and I don't understand the technology enough to know why. So it would stand to reason that a tube buffer, maybe. Weirdly, I do like the buffer in the Klon, which has quite a significant effect on the sound. So, yeah. Oh, apparently there's two wahs, says Kaiser Joe on Frusciante's board. One at the beginning and one at the end. And apparently if you listen to the outro of Danny California, you'll hear that. Yeah, didn't know that. Apparently BV has sent me a pic of the new valvulator. Oh, I see. Nice. Vacuum tube buffer. Well, we'll just have to try it, won't we? That looks cool. Try it. Thank you very much for sending that. And Dustin Thiessen, I now know that it's the wrong valvulator. What? Malcolm Berjati says, hey Mick, did the dullness with the Strat overlap with the pollen season? I have some problems with allergies that makes me angry with my Friedman vintage tea every spring. I suppose everything makes a difference, doesn't it? Yeah. Liam James Silcock says, new location unlocked, TPS Jazz Lounge. Looks like you needed a new space after Philip Sace burned the other room to the ground, says M. Silv. Yeah.
Joe Rowe says, I'm not sure how you two plan to sit in the bar with a guest. Seems too limited to capture all of you.
Oh, come on.
Do you want to explain?
I can explain. This little bit here, this table here in the middle is, shall we say, modular, so it can move. And so the whole horizontal space is available, and we may well move the table when there's more than just us and the guest. Secondly, the other thing, which is not going to make any sense because the cameras aren't placed that way at the moment, the scope for Dan and I to kind of sit like this and face somebody like that with cameras much more angled across, so it feels more like telly, less like flat video. But we have thought about that. It'll look very different depending on how things are arranged and where the cameras are placed. It's how far are we zoomed? Here you go. Watch this. That's what it actually. That's the actual full width of it. Can you see this now?
Yep.
Yeah. So you see the microphone above my head. You can see our Indian restaurant toilet panels at the side with gold, reflecting gold. And anyway, so, but there's scope is what I'm saying. Looks nice wide. Where were we? About there before?
Yeah, sort of.
Can't remember. Don't matter, does it? It's a test run, isn't it? I even remember to record the podcast. Although I shouldn't get too cocky. There's probably loads of other stuff I've forgotten to do. Enlask says, you're breaking the illusion. I thought this was a whole ass bar. Well, it sort of kind of is.
See your microphone, do you mind?
No, it doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter. You can see the microphone, does it? We're all friends. Sending love to Dan, says Dylan Gravis. Gervais. Gravis? Graveris. Dylan, thank you. Hopefully, Dan might be watching from A&E. That's a better wide shot, says BV. Thanks, BV. Yeah, we'll learn. We'll learn. Yeah, we will learn. Who's next then? Binky. Binky is next. Interesting. Isn't Jimmy Page's tech called Binky? Is that you? He says, maybe not. He says, I have a Bad Cat Cub 5, hand-wired, in the United States. I'm relocating to the US, to the UK. Sorry, I am in the US. I am relocating to the UK. And I love the amp. Would you ship it and have it rewired for $240? Or sell it and buy a new one in the UK? Cheaper to ship than replace it. Get a step-down transformer, Binky. They're not tremendously expensive. You can just run it in the UK. You just need a step-down transformer that sits between the wall and your amp, and it will convert the AC electricity to the correct voltage. No problem at all. For example, when when Philip Sace kicked the crap out of Matt Schofield's Vibratone a couple of weeks ago, that is a US voltage one, and so we have to use a transformer to do it. They're not tremendously expensive, so we would thoroughly recommend that. Yeah, I don't know if you're planning on going back to the US at any point. You could have it rewired, but just use a step-down transformer. Paul Matulovic, how are you, Paul? He says, evening, gents. Finally time to add a little kick to the leg ends, I see. In honour of Schwangri-Bar, what are your favourite spirits and cocktails, and have you any interest in good rye whiskey? Dan likes gin. He tends to go for a gin of some description. We both like whiskey, but we both can't really drink it because of the effect, the next day effect, which is not very good. We're wider now, aren't we? Are we wider on the main shot? I think so.
Tiny bit.
Maybe. Does it matter? Does anyone care? Are you using this camera?
Yeah. Nice.
Catherine's switching tonight. So we're just testing. What do I like? I got two favourite cocktails. One would be a Negroni, which I know is a bit passé now. Everyone drinks Negronis, don't they? I want to thank Tor from TC Electronic for introducing me and Dan to Negronis on a brilliant night out in Denmark. And I like the old gin martini, whatever that's called. 1 part gin, 2 parts vermouth. Squeeze of olive juice. Is that what that is? Bitters? Yeah, I like that too. But again, can't drink too much of that stuff. Get silly. What's yours, Paul? What do you like drinking? I'm guessing rye whiskey. I'm not sure I've ever had rye whiskey. I've heard it in Gillian Welch lyrics. Andre Norman. Evening, gents. I'm currently running a wet-dry rig with a Victory Sheriff 44 and a Duchess Deluxe. What amp would you recommend adding to go wet-dry wet? Okay. Victory Copper, or should I change up the brand? Okay, Andre. Wet-dry wet actually has more to do with stereo than the way that Dan and I do wet-dry. So the way Dan and I do wet-dry is, you could sort of shrink it all down and say that if you only had one amp, you would have your wet amp, and everything goes to your wet amp. On those times when you can add an amplifier, you add an output after your overdrives, and then that means you have the additional amp, and that's your wet dry. So you don't start with a dry amp, you start with a wet amp. With stereo, and I'll get to wet, dry, wet in a minute. With stereo, you can't do that. You can't sort of start with the left and then add the right. The left and right are integral and you have to have them. And the problem with stereo is that you have to have both of them all the time, and you sort of have to have them pan left and right. So if you're playing a show of any size, the people stood on the left hear the left, and the people stood on the right hear the right. So wet, dry, wet was an addition of stereo, because what happens with very wet guitar sounds, once you add in loads of stereo delay and reverb and flanges and phases and choruses and all that stuff, it gets really confused sounding, and you can just get lost in this insane wash of stereo amazingness. So having the dry amp down the middle to punch is what you want. So in that respect, in the way that Dan and I would see it, wet, dry, wet is a very, very, very different game from wet, dry. Ergo, you kind of want the two wets to be the same thing because they're doing stereo stuff. Now, here's where it could get really crazy, because no problem at all in you adding the copper and having it in your victory arsenal. Just means that whichever amps you do left and right, wet and wet, you want them to get them sounding kind of similar so that your stereo effects really work. However, with either of those amps, the Duchess Deluxe or the Sheriff 44, what you could add is a stereo power amp and two speakers. That way you can send the effects send from your main amp. That means you get the same preamp signal throughout the whole rig, and then you return it back to the stereo power amp. That is a really cool way to do it. Yeah, that's the traditional way to do it. That's the way, you know, all the guys with loads of hair did it in the 80s. I think we've done it on the show. We did it using my TS1 as the dry and the Boogie Stereo 50/50 power amp and two 112s. It was colossal sound, absolutely colossal sound. So yeah, as you say, stick with victory, balance up those left and right wet amps, and fire the other one hammering down the middle. I personally would run the Sheriff 44 as the dry amp. That's what I would do, because I think it's a wonderful sounding amp. And then obviously just get your phases and all of that right. So yeah, I hope that's some food for thought. Paul Matulovic again, he says, a passing curiosity. Since you played the new Diamond pedals, have you played any of the regular Solid Gold line? There's some cool stuff. Bits and bobs, and actually having been in contact with Diamond, for those of you who don't know, the people that are behind Solid Gold Effects bought Diamond. And we have been in touch, and there's some stuff on its way to us from Solid Gold Effects. So yes, we are going to get into that. I think there's a delivery just arrived. What's going on here? Wet, dry, wet martini, says John Swade. Yeah, my cat is on my lap, says Todd Roy. Nice. Out of phase martini, says John Swade. What? Yeah, good. Oh, lots of drinks suggestions coming in. A nice burgundy instead mix, says Johnny T. Yeah, I have to say wine is more my jam. Definitely. Aha, John Swade says, let's get some TPS cocktails going. Yes, I like it. Okay. Music Therapy Laz, how are you? He says, it's my 60th birthday today, but the gift is for you, Leggins. Bless you. Thanks for everything you do for this community of chasing gear nerds. Community of tone chasing gear nerds. Yeah. Nice, isn't it? It's a nice place to be. Nice when you meet TPSers out in the wild. And happy birthday, Music Therapy Laz, 60, milestone of sorts, isn't it? Milestone of sorts. Sean Jeremilatos, how are you, Sean? We met Sean recently. He says, thanks DM and K for the warm welcome and the fabulous day at TPS. By the way, I picked up a USA Epiphone Coronet. Oh, nice. Finished in black paisley from 60 Sounds on Denmark Street. What a souvenir. It's a cool guitar. You go come up then. Didn't Steve Marriott play one of those? And then Robbie McIntosh, I think, was a huge fan. How are you, Rosie? This is different, isn't it? Yeah, this is different, baby girl. I know. Can you face that way? I've got my foot caught. Which means I gotta get it back over the bloody thing. Bye. Yeah, Rosie's very confused with all the change. She does have her own chair in here though, so. It was great to meet you, Sean, and enjoy playing that cornet. Very nice. Ran's there. How are you, Ran? Been a while since we've heard from you, buddy. Hope you're doing okay. He says, greetings D&M and B and K and R and chat. I love Schwangri-Bar. It looks awesome. Hope Dan feels better soon. Take one from the chat. Cheers from Ran. Bless you, buddy. Yeah, we hope Dan is doing okay with a rash on his PP. Let's see then. We got any Gareth Johnson, he says, I'm actually having a Hendrix gin and tonic right now. What's this gaff? How are you, Gareth? This is the bar, mate. This is Schwangri-Bar. This is our new space. It's also my new control room where we've got 16 audio in, 8 back, video link to the live room so we can actually do some more serious stuff now. Now, the thing with Hendrix is, I think it's better with cucumber. So Gordon's, lemon, Tanqueray, lime, Hendrix, cucumber. So for your next one, if you haven't already done it, cucumber in Hendrix and tonic. It is pretty special. In fact, yeah, there you go. For obvious reasons, my favourite gin. But the botanicals in it seem to work really well with cucumber, I find. Is that bougie enough for you? Hope you're doing well, Gareth. Good to hear from you as always, mate. Kristen Abbott says, why not swap Rosie's chair for Dan's chair for the day? I know. Wouldn't that have been a good idea? To be honest, mate, literally right up until I was still drilling things into the ceiling, like this microphone holder, and which I know you can see, but we're just, thank you for allowing us to test this on you, right? Because it's always the way we've done it with TPS. We've always tested live and kind of learnt from the mistakes. So thank you for being part of that and being cool with it. We appreciate it. And I'll be extra carefully going through the comments and feedback just to see what suggestions come in, because we're always up for it, as you know. Mike Riddle says, if we're on G&Ts, mine's a Plymouth with lime. Tenjaku is also great. Now, if Tenjaku is that Japanese gin that comes in the hexagonal bottle, if it is that one, the one that comes in the hexagonal bottle, and I'm sorry if I've got it wrong, Japanese gin, use a vegetable peeler, take the edge off some ginger, like some root ginger, and peppercorns. Honestly, it's all about enhancing the botanicals they flavour the gin with. It's so good. It's so good. Anyway. Marcus Reeve says, the room sound is so much more alive. I love it. Yeah, well, we'll be deadening that off somewhat, Marcus, because it is a bit, yeah, we got a bit of work to do. Obviously, I can't.
Roku.
Roku is the Japanese one I'm thinking of.
Paul Matulovic.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, that little slice of root ginger and peppercorns, really, really killer. Yeah. Curtis says, Curtis asks, is there going to be a BTS behind the scenes of TPS renovating the space? That was fun when you first landed in this venue. We haven't actually done it this time. It's not such a heavy makeover than what we did last time. So we'll definitely do a walk around and show you what's what and explain why we've done it, but we haven't actually filmed it this time. Been a bit manic, actually. Just getting shows out and dealing with guests and doing all of that. So, yeah. And on that subject, Morley Robertson says, hey, Mick, what about a walking tour of the place someday? Yeah, we should do that. So anyone who's been lucky enough to come to an experience day, we do that when you're here. But yeah, it would be good to share with the regular TPS crowd as well. We'll absolutely do that. Johnny T says, I haven't drunk in 4 years. This talk is killing me. Bless you, mate. I had a really good chat with my friend Alistair, who's the singer in the band, and he gave up drinking 2 years ago. And he was a long way down the line with it, and kind of had to give up. And I had a long chat with him about it, because I've thought about it many times. So, but yeah, he's in a really good place, and I hope you are, Johnny. You know, he said it's quite difficult when we're walking around Festival Field and everyone's having a laugh and it's sunny. You know, you really want a beer or whatever. But as he said, his life is so much better without drinking in the way that he used to drink. So, yeah, my heart goes out to anybody who is struggling with that, or who has struggled with that, and who's got on top of it, or who is getting on top of it, because that's hard. That's hard. All power to you, Johnny. All power to you, mate. Is this the new experience day? Where do I sign up? Says I must be Damani. New experience days will go on sale. Not yet.
We normally,
September?
Yeah, we'll start looking at dates shortly.
Yeah.
And then
Keep an eye out, because we'll put the first half of 2027 on sale at some point between now and September. So the best way to know about them is to sign up to that Pedal Show store mailing list, or that pedalshow.com mailing list. Is that right, Bebbers? Yeah. So sign up to those mailing lists, and make sure you sign up on an email account that you actually check. It's surprising how many things we have to iron out because of that basic problem. So yeah, and that's where you'll find out about them for. Right, Michael Gleason says, Mick, do you oscillate between the 4 quadrants of too loud, too quiet, too bright and too dark on gigs? I've started using the acrylic shield and they shoot the sound up. It helps. 100 watt 2 Rock classic reverb signature like mine, with GTL 65s or EVs. Yeah, okay. So Michael's saying anyone who's played regularly can relate to this. You know, your sound really changes from night to night. It can, and that depends on the venue itself, how many people are in there, the size and shape of the stage, what the stage is made of. There's so many variables. And for those of you lucky enough to play regularly, those idiosyncrasies can get really annoying. It's one reason Bonamassa shifted to those Auralex pads. Don't know if he still uses them, but for a while he was using these sound isolating pads, which got his amps sonically isolated from the stage in a similar way that you would do with studio monitors, so that certainly with things like 4x12 cabs, if they got no casters on them, the coupling to the stage, especially as a big empty wooden stage, the bass transfer of that is colossal. So decoupling them from the stage would help. And in the same way, putting your amp on its flight case, you know, so you take the flight case off if you use a flight case, put the amp on top so it's raised up a bit. That can work in a similar manner. Do I oscillate? No, I don't really do enough gigs, Michael, to be honest. The one at the weekend was fantastic. It was one of those festival gigs where there's loads of bands playing, so you got 20-minute changeover, 3-minute line check, go. And in some ways, I kind of love that. It's big stage and lovely out front PA, you know, huge PA, flown PA. And yeah, just get the stuff up. Hella loud. So I didn't have time to think about it. But we do, don't we? If the point is, when you get into your head about it, then all your playing goes out the window. So you just kind of need to carry on regardless. The panels is an interesting thing. Ainsley Lister gave me 2 of those Hoovy deluxe ones. And I've used those a couple of times, like you say. So it's, I never really understood. If you look at people like Bonamassa and other artists who play loud, you'll see like a flat plexiglass or sometimes V-shaped plexiglass vertical panels in order to stop the beam. That's what it's there for. So if anyone's at head height to the speaker cone, it stops that beam, but you get all the ambient sound. The Hoovy Deluxe ones I really like because they're sort of angled up like that and they're curved. So they stop the beam, but they also deflect the sound in a much more natural way than just hitting the flat of a piece of plexiglass, plastic. Had good results with those. Like I say, don't really play often enough with the same band to notice the differences gig to gig. But yeah, if you want to use a loud amp these days, I would imagine some sort of diffusion is essential. So great playing on a big stage because no one cares how loud it is. It was lovely. Because obviously, by the time you're 15 metres back in the field, you couldn't be heard anyway. So just play as loud as you like on stage, and boy, did we. It was great. It was great. Yeah, Dustin Thiessen says, in-ears will solve all those problems. You'll always hear exactly what the mic hears. I kind of, I can see that. And I think we were having this conversation at the weekend, if you've got a sound engineer who you work with and they know what you want in your ears and you trust it and it's consistent, then I agree. I think that's a good shout. But I don't necessarily want to hear what the mic is hearing, because what the mic is hearing is not the sound when you're stood, at your mic stand over your pedal board. You're hearing a lovely coming together of the whole band, of the ambient sound of your amp in the space. I think once you get to a certain size of stage, like I don't play these kind of stages, but huge stages, big festival stages, then yeah, in-ears are probably essential at that point, especially if you don't have a lot of time to set up a really good monitor wedge mix. But on smaller stages where you are able to hear everyone else in the band clearly acoustically, I really think in-ears are performance killers. I really do. Unless, like I said at the beginning, unless you've got it dialed in so well and it's a familiar setup and you've got that night after night and you know how to deal with it. But we persuaded our drummer to come off in-ears, and I just think everything was better as a result because everyone's playing to the same thing. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Phil Bradley says, Mick, do you ever build your own pedals? It can be the most satisfying and infuriating pastime. Love the bar, nice work. Funnily enough, Phil, I've always said, Dan and I share this view, why would we build pedals when we know all the best people in the world at building pedals? But the other day I was like, I'm going to build a fuzz. I really want to build a fuzz. Just a simple fuzz face based fuzz. Just to see. And let's see. I'll film it and see if I can catch the bug. A couple more super chats. Eric Strausch says, for a 3-pedal board, what are the essentials? Mine are drive, modulation and delay. No arguments from me there. That's exactly what I would use. And then it's modulation to taste, isn't it? So if you like phaser, go phaser. Chorus, whatever. Tremolo, if we consider that to be a modulation pedal, most people do. And then I suppose after that, it depends on what your gig is, what sounds you require. So for some people, it might be wah, overdrive, and delay. Or a lot of people don't use delay, don't really get delay. So, but yeah, I think I would agree. Please, in the comments, people, tell us what your 3 essential pedals would be on a board. And Eric, thank you for your generosity. Johnny T is last in with super chats. I will just check that is the last super chat. But he says, are there any Jan Ackerman fans out there? Would he come on? Well, that's really interesting. Jan Ackerman, for those of you who don't know, well, I know him through Focus, but presumably he had a solo career as well, did he? Jan Ackerman? Guess he did. You know that song Hocus Pocus? Wasn't that Jan Ackerman? No doubt the chat will be confirming or denying. Oh. Michael Gleason says, yeah, I'm on ears for some gigs. And much prefer hearing the stage and supplementing with wedges. Ears are great for consistency and control. Luckily, I'm not a lead singer, so less of an issue. Yeah. I mean, whether it is wedges or whether it is in ears, it's a crapshoot, isn't it? Because the monitor, whoever's in control of the monitors, has got to be really good. And they have to, your communication to them has got to be really clear. They need to understand what you're talking about, because a poor wedge mix I can deal with, because I can just move away from it and stand near the drummer if I need to hear more drums. Not if I'm singing, but you know what I mean. A poor in-ears mix. How do you get away? Well, you do, don't you? Because half the time someone's got one of their ears out because it's like, can't do all this. Yeah. Yeah. Marcus says, come down to the workshop and build it with me then. Maybe, Marcus, I will do that and you can teach me and then I'll come home. How about you guys? I like doing things on my own and making the mistakes, but maybe getting the, yeah, best to learn beforehand, maybe. Thank you for the offer, buddy. Thank you for the offer. Apparently Jan Ackerman is touring the UK early again next year. Okay, we'll reach out. We'll reach out. Scotty LK says 3 Tube Screamers, obviously. Are you giving the Silver Sky a go? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. When they brought out the Roxy Pink one, back along, I was so tempted. I think they lent us 2 when they first came out. And I wasn't in the mood to get it. Plus the 2, one of the ones I tried was kind of heavy and I don't know, something about the setup. I wasn't in the mood for it. Just wasn't in the mood for it. I've since become in the mood for it. And like I said, every now and again when one of the Roxy Pink ones comes up, I'm like, yeah. But I know pink guitars were a thing, weren't they? And bit like the V, I just don't know how long I could pull it off. You can pull it off, Ian, because you're made of pure rock. So I thought, yeah, give one of these a go, and specifically a maple one too, because my Fender Strat is, my 61 Strat is rosewood, and that guitar is unbeatable. It's unbeatable. With any guitar I'm likely to get close to for what it does. This, different kettle of fish, and I played the first 3 songs with it at the gig on Saturday. So literally it arrived on Friday. I changed the strings to my gauge of strings, Kurt Mangan, Stringjoy strings. I adjusted the action ever so slightly. In fact, I put it down a bit, would you believe? Because I think Maya likes a confident setup. The other thing I really dig about it is, you'll have heard me bang on about this in Strat vlogs, the kind of depth of the neck here being thinner than the depth of the neck here. So you get a bit of extra meat by the time you get down here. And I love that about vintage Strats, and I like that about this. And it came out of the box. I changed the strings. I put the action down a little bit. I tuned it up. And the next time I played it was the opening intro for the first song of the set at Hella Loud. And I only put it down after song 3 because the next song's kind of a humbucker song. So I was really pleased. Rock solid tuning, sounded great. We played Tightrope, was the 3rd song. And even with all that Stevie Ray stuff, I really enjoyed playing it. So I'm looking forward to understanding, you know, the maple aspect of it and how that sort of fits in coming weeks and months, and see what happens. But I also because this is new as well, and I know it's a bit, ridiculous getting so many new guitars, but this is the opposite end of that. This is something that I want to push me in a different direction completely. Even though it's a familiar shape, even though it's kind of familiar in lots of other ways, these mini humbuckers and, the roasted maple and all, it just puts me in a different frame of mind. Different enough, but familiar enough, because anything too different and I just get too lost. So anyway, this will be an interesting journey as well. As I say, we've got a bit of a microphonic issue to figure out on this pickup before this one gets too much more airtime, but yeah. Made by Dean Cutler, who came to an experience day. We really liked his guitars, so I ended up saying, could you build me one please? And he said yes. Cool. In TPS Sparkle Orange, obviously. So yeah, I think Dan and I are both just in a mood to play some different stuff for a while. You'll notice Dan's been playing his Huber a bit. He's got a Shabbat incoming. And it's funny how we sort of arrived at the same place at the same time, just wanting to do different things. And reiterate, nothing replaces the vintage guitars. It just doesn't. They're for what you want them for, they're untouchable, in my opinion. They remain that way. But outside of that, yeah, why not? Why not? Gargantua, yes, I think it's Jason. He says, glad I could add the Weller to the decor. Perhaps I can make it back to crack it open. You'd be welcome, mate. It would be a fitting way to do it. Will Wetherington says, I'm thinking about trying 9.5s. Give it a go. Give it a go, Will. I went to 10.5s from 11s on Fender scale length guitars, and just sits in a really nice place. It's funny, when we were choosing our gauges for the Stringjoy signature strings, which you can buy at thatpedalshowstore.com, I was choosing my gauges. They sent a whole bunch, and you know, blah blah blah. I wanted to come down just a little bit from the Mangans, and as I sent my gauges off, I think about 2 days later, Mayer came out with his signature set, and they're virtually identical. They're certainly very, very similar. So I was like, oh no, I've copied him again. I've copied him again. Yeah. But yeah, do it, Will. It's, you know, for whatever a set of strings costs these days, it's worth trying. It never fails to amaze me how your physical interaction with the guitar and it being set up nicely with strings you want to play has just the most profound effect on tone. Much more than a different pedal. Well, depending on the pedal, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Okay, I think that was the last super chat from Johnny T.
There are some awesome cocktail names if you scroll back up the chat.
Okay. Actually, no. Douglas Hernon. Douglas Hernon, or Douglas Hernon. He says, can we talk about fully wet dry and reverb as a TPS wet dry alternative? Drives, compression and EQ into an ABY, right to stereo reverb and an EL84 amp, left to vibrato delays, tremolo reverb and a 6L6 amp. Okay, I'd have to draw a diagram, Douglas, I think. So you're saying, right, drive, compression, EQ, ABY, then we're into a stereo reverb. Well, if it's a stereo reverb, it's going to both amps, isn't it? Yeah, so you're saying, I think, please tell me if I'm wrong here. Sorry, I have real trouble seeing things as written in text. I need to see it as a diagram. I think what we're doing is we're doing TPS wet dry, but we're adding stereo reverb. Is that right? And if it is, yeah, why not? Dan and I... So Dan runs reverb in one of his amps, I think the Princeton, but not in the Matchless. I run it in my 2-rock, but not in the other 2-rock. What? Who says that? But I'm very happy for the reverb to be in both amps. Stereo reverb? from a pedal before vibrato, delay, tremolo. I guess we have to try it, don't we? I guess we have to try it. The thing with reverb is, your music, if you're going to use a lot of reverb, your music has to have the space to be able to hear it, I think. So it's kind of genre dependent and it's material dependent. Like if you're playing anything remotely ambient, dare we say the shoegaze word, yeah, I can see it working for that. Let's try it. Thank you for the question. David Tompkins says, Catherine must be tutting in the background at mixed new guitars. We have a 1 in, 1 out rule, which is why there was stuff for sale on the... if you go to that pedal show store, Dan and I sometimes sell some of our personal gear. It's not owned by that pedal show and it's not sold by that pedal show. It's personal gear that we buy and sell ourselves. So yeah, we have a 1 in, 1 out rule. So buy it.
No tutting from me.
No tutting. So by and large, when one arrives, one has to go. So hence the V going. I know that's 2. Yeah, maybe I'll 1 up. Shh, she's over there. Hands up, who's ever done that? Going out from the house in the morning with an empty gig bag, or maybe with a broom handle or something in it, just to make it look rigid. And then coming back with something in it. You ever done that?
Now I know.
Are you going to review the Eclipser from Dawna Prince, says Yorkie Dames. Yes, I rather hope so. Looks really cool, actually. Looks really cool. I'm just going to check that BV's not telling me anything because... yeah, Dan says, please apologise to everyone from me. Give them my love. He says, tell them the doctor has diagnosed me with a case of extreme handsomeness, for which there is no known cure. So he sounds like he's doing all right. It's really Paul says, Mick, how are you getting on with the big time? Good. I'm planning a video on it, which is basically... a normal human's guide to the big time. All the videos that have come out so far have been really good, but they do talk to a certain type of brain, and I want to talk to a different kind of brain, like my brain. But yeah, really very well. I like it a great deal, actually. It's not what we expected. It's got so much more in it than we ever thought. So that I guess the kind of video I want to make is, look, what if you want to do these relatively simple things with it to begin with, and then get more into it as time goes on? And the relatively simple things being, can it do a bloody slapback? Can I get my 345 millisecond standard delay with a bit of modulation, etc.? Yes, you can, but we're going to get into a bit of how you do that. And then maybe... instead of going like full crazy, how do we just add a bit of this extra lovely into it? So yeah. Very cool. Blind John's Guitar says, Mick, can we get a shout out, please, for the Fret Fest in Norwich on Saturday the 20th at the old shoe factory, St Mary's Works. There's 50 plus boutique builders from the UK, and the best bit is free. Wow, that is very cool. Okay, everyone. Fret Fest in Norwich on Saturday the 20th. Now, I want to say that's the 20th of June, i.e. this coming Saturday. Yep. I would come, Blind John, but I've got a gig, so I can't come, unfortunately. I've got a gig basing this weekend. So, yeah, all the best with that. Okay, Fret Fest in Norwich. 50 boutique builders from the UK, and it is free to get in. So please, if you can get to Norwich, home of... Is that where Alan Partridge comes from?
I think so.
Is he from Norwich?
That way.
Yeah. Go there. Good. Yes. Chris Quinn says, do you ever sell a $300 guitar to buy a $3,000 guitar? Shh.
Shall I leave the room?
Cool. Johnny T says, what happened to Dan's EP? I'm trying to persuade him to finish it, but he's lost a bit of motivation for it, so maybe we can gently encourage him. Yeah, he just lost motivation. And I think he's been very busy with work. Yeah. Good. Blind John's Guitar says, thank you for mentioning that. Good. And lots of people are asking for all analog reverb episode. Yeah, interesting. I mean, help me out here. Is there another analog reverb that isn't a spring reverb then? I'm assuming there must be. But maybe I'm having a bit of a midlife moment and not understanding that. Good. Okay. Thanks for being with it today, people. I appreciate it's a bit different. It's the maiden flight of Schwangri-Bar, and I'm gutted that Dan's not here. Because let me tell you the story to end then. So we started doing this in February, and we've been putting it off because all the production gear from the main studio has moved in here, and there's multi-core cables going everywhere. So doing it probably is going to take at least a week, maybe, of testing, mucking about, and it means we're basically unable to do anything in that 2 weeks or week, 10 days, whatever it's going to take. Might only take 2 days, but it never goes like that. But we knew that we could come in here and start streaming straight away. So we agreed today was the day. Today was D-Day. So I get in early this morning, start tearing stuff to pieces, bring the rack in, move everything, at which point there's no going back. We can't, could have done, but I'm not about to set back up in there again. And then Dan texts to say he's not feeling very well and he can't make it. So unfortunately I've had to sail solo on our maiden voyage. But at least we can learn all the mistakes, so it will be more pro when Dan gets here. God, I said I wasn't going to have a drink tonight. Maybe. And Dan, I bought Waitrose, right? I've got on offer at the moment these T-bone huge tomahawk steaks. Actually, I don't know if it's a T-bone. It's a tomahawk steak. It's massive, mate. So if you're watching this, I want you to think about me eating that, because it won't last. Or maybe it will. Won't last till next week, but... So just think about that, buddy. While they're applying the cream. As we said, this Friday's show is Jack Roosh. Incredible guitar player from Nashville, Tennessee. Or at least who lives in Nashville, Tennessee. You might know him from his Brett Papa courses, True Fire courses. You might know him from his music or his own YouTube channel. He's a fantastic player, passes on a huge amount of knowledge, lots of stuff to learn from, and some wonderful playing too. So be here for Jack on Friday. And yeah, nice. How about plate reverb, says Iono Bellisk. I guess so. I don't know if we could get a plate in here. Does anyone make a small plate reverb? Chris Quinn says, what would be the best torpedo your algorithm show? Well, pretty much every show we make at the moment, Chris. Yeah, plates. Fairfield has a new one using BBD chips, says Bronzo. Oh, that's a good shout. Fairfield stuff's always good, isn't it? Always inventive and interesting. Great. All right. Oh, apparently Rabia's got a microtonal guitar, says Jord. Wow.
Music Therapy Laz, it's his birthday.
Yeah, we've wished Music Therapy Laz a happy birthday. You could make your own plate reverb, says Dustin Thiessen. Okay. You could do it using a tea tray. What do you need then? Audio in, a couple of transducers? Because presumably it sends the sound across the plate, does it? It's like a purely physical thing. You excite it at one end and recover it at the other. Is that how it works? Don't know. Okay, we'll have the last question for Fakuzpw. F-A-C-U-Z-P-W. It's Nicholas. Nicholas, I'm so sorry. You say your name after that. He says, I'm subscribed and watching from Argentina. Well, hello to Argentina. I love the show and I would like to know your opinion on which pedal I should add next if I've only got a tuner, reverb and distortion. I can speak for Dan as well, Nicholas, and say a delay. You can do so much with delay, right? Just briefly, if you get a really nice, I don't know what delay you might want to get. I would probably start with a simple-ish digital delay. And I don't know what the availability of stuff like is in Argentina. I know that in various bits of South America, stuff can be really expensive from brands like Boss and whatever. But whatever you can get your hands on, and if you can get your hands on a Boss DD8, fantastic. And experiment with going from very short delay times, like 20 to 30 milliseconds for the doubling effect. Head up into 50, 60 for super, super short slaps that are really effective for punching through in solos. Head up to 100 to 150 to talk about classic rock and roll slapback. Then get into anything from like 225 to 400-ish, and that will get all the meat and potatoes covered of most general rock and pop music. Longer than that, 400 plus, 500 plus, 800 plus gets you into long delay territory, and you can really start having some fun with maybe creating harmonies, playing in time with it and all the rest of it. But what I'm saying is across that delay range with different amounts of feedback and level, the amount you can get out of a simple delay pedal is colossal. I know that so many people buy delay pedals, they put all the settings in the middle and go, I don't really know what I'm doing here. There is so much more to it than that. And in so doing, watch some of our shows. I think you can sound, like if you buy a chorus or if you buy a flanger or if you buy a rotary speaker, you turn it on, that's what you're going to sound like. Within a given value of difference, you're going to sound like you've got a chorus or a flanger. With a delay, decent delay that will do anything between like 20 milliseconds and 600, let's say, 20 milliseconds and 1,000, even better. The stuff you can span tonally is vast, and you can really start sounding like you as well, if that is part of your goal. There you go. There ends the sermon. Thanks for watching, everyone. We appreciate Dan vicariously appreciates you being here, as do I, and testing out the new space. We'll christen it properly next week, maybe with a drinky. TC Flashback should be affordable and is quite good, says the Berry King. Yes, I completely agree. Todd Roy says, what's on tap for Friday? Jack Roosh. Todd, wonderful, wonderful player from Nashville, Tennessee. Good. All right. Thanks for being with us. Show you a bit of this just to finish. I forgot all my plectrums today. I was too much in a hurry wearing my work clothes to do all this. I've got the trem decked, which is how it comes. So I haven't veered into that yet. But yeah, man. I'll play it on the show soon. Thanks for being with us, everyone. See you Friday for Jack Rouge. And Dan will see you, hopefully, rash cured next Monday. Night-night. Bye-bye. We need some outro music.
You're already black.